All right. Let me take you back a few years. I was that girl who believed that love could fix everything. You know the type, the I'll do anything for you girlfriend. Yeah, that was me. Back in college, I was dating this guy. Let's call him Alex. To me, he was everything. I rearranged my schedule for him, stayed up late to help with his assignment, showed up at his games, cooked for him when he was stressed. I wasn't rich. I was juggling classes, a part-time job, and pure exhaustion. But if it came down to me resting or him being happy, I usually picked him. And for a while, I thought we were perfect. Then one night, everything cracked. I went to this house party. Nothing special, just a typical college party. Loud music, cheap beer, people pretending they're happier than they actually are. I was looking for Alex. He wasn't answering his phone, so I figured, no big deal. He's probably just hanging out with the guys. I opened one of the bedroom doors, and there he was, Alex, in bed, with one of my closest friends. You know that feeling when your brain understands what's happening, but your heart is just refusing to accept it? I remember just standing there frozen. I didn't yell, I didn't cry, I just stared. My friend jumps up, starts mumbling some nonsense excuse. Alex pulls the blanket up and says, "It's not what it looks like." And I actually laughed, not because it was funny, but because my brain short-circuited. Like, what else could it possibly be? I left. I don't remember walking home. I don't remember going to bed. I just remember this heavy feeling in my chest, like someone poured concrete into my ribs. The breakup happened fast after that. He apologized. He said it was a mistake. He told me he didn't know what he was thinking. The usual script. A part of me wanted to forgive him because I loved him, because I didn't know who I was without him. But every time I closed my eyes, I saw that room, so we ended it. The next year was rough, I won't lie. I was broken. I stopped going out, stopped trusting people. But slowly, very slowly, I started putting myself back together. I focused on my degree, picked up extra hours at work, started going to the gym, not to impress anyone, but to feel stronger. I got into new hobbies, reading, journaling, learning new skills. I rebuilt my life piece by piece. And without even realizing it, I leveled up. Better job, better money, better boundaries, a much better version of me. Years went by. I moved to a different city, built a life I was proud of. New apartment, new friends, new routines. Alex was just a chapter I'd finished. Then one day my phone lit up. A message request from Alex. My stomach dropped for a second, not from love, from memory. His message was long, like scroll long. He wrote that he'd made the biggest mistake of his life, that he regretted what he did every single day, that he'd been immature and selfish, that he thought about me whenever something good or bad happened, because I was the only person who really loved him. He said he'd seen my social media, my career, my travels, and he was proud of me. He asked if we could meet for coffee and talk, maybe start over. For a moment, that old version of me woke up, the one who believed that love meant giving endless second chances, the one who thought maybe people can change, maybe this is fate. But then I thought about that girl I used to be, the one who cried herself to sleep, wondering why she wasn't enough, the one who blamed herself for his choices, and I realized something. I didn't want him back. Not because I hated him, but because I finally loved myself more than I missed him. So I answered, I wrote, "Hey, I'm glad you're doing okay. I've moved on and I'm not interested in reopening that chapter. I genuinely wish you the best. Take care." No drama, no insults, no long emotional speech. He replied with, "Wow. Okay, I thought you'd at least want to talk." Then a few more messages, guilt trips, little attempts to pull me back into the past I didn't answer again. And you know what? For the first time in a long time, I felt free. Here's the thing, sometimes the closure you're waiting for isn't an apology. It's the moment you finally decide that the person who broke you doesn't get to come back and enjoy the upgraded version of you. So yeah, he came back, he regretted it, and I finally chose myself. Story 2. I left my husband for someone exciting, and I ruined my own life. I'm not the good person in this story. Let's get that straight from the beginning. I was married for almost 10 years. We'll call my husband David. We weren't perfect. We argued about money, chores, his family, my stress from work. But he was loyal, steady, and he loved me, truly loved me. He wasn't the flowers and grand gestures type. He was the check your tires before a long drive type. The wake up early to make you coffee before your big presentation type. The quiet, reliable kind of love. And I took it for granted. A few years ago, I met someone at work. Let's call him Ryan. Ryan was exciting, flirty, spontaneous, always saying the right thing. He complimented my outfits, called me brilliant, and made me feel like I was 22 again, instead of a tired woman in her 30s juggling a job and a marriage. At first, it was just friendly. Then it became emotionally inappropriate, and then, we crossed the line. I told myself all the classic lies. I'm not happy in my marriage. David doesn't understand me anymore. Ryan is my soulmate. I started rewriting my marriage in my head so I could justify betraying it. One day, after a big argument with David over something stupid, I think it was about how often he worked late, I snapped. I told him I wanted a divorce. The look on his face will never leave me. He was hurt, confused, desperate to understand. He asked if there was someone else, and I lied. Of course I lied. I just need space. I'm not happy. It's not you. It's me. Pause. It was absolutely me. We divorced. It was painful, messy, expensive. We didn't have kids, but we had a life together, a home, shared memories, routines. And I walked away from all of it. I moved in with Ryan. At first, it felt like I'd made the right choice. We were like teenagers, going out, traveling when we could, staying up late, drinking, laughing. For a while, I felt alive, but then reality started to creep in. Ryan liked the idea of me more than the reality of me. He loved fun, spontaneous, flirty me. He wasn't prepared for tired, stressed, overwhelmed me. He didn't understand why I got anxious about bills. He didn't see the point of planning long term. Money disappeared as fast as it came in, and suddenly that stable, boring life with David didn't look so boring anymore. It looked safe, secure, kind. Meanwhile, I'd occasionally see glimpses of my old life. Photos mutual friends would post. David at a barbecue, David hiking, David smiling, standing next to people I used to see every weekend. I started wondering if he was happier without me. Spoiler, he was. Ryan and I started arguing about money, about my mood, about how I wasn't fun anymore. He'd say things like, "You've changed, you used to be so easygoing." And I wanted to scream, "Of course I've changed. I'm drowning in guilt and bad decisions." The truth hit me slowly, painfully. I didn't leave because my marriage was some horrible prison. I left because I was selfish, because I wanted excitement, validation, an ego boost. I destroyed something solid for something shiny and unstable. And then came the final twist. Ryan cheated on me. Yeah. The man I left my husband for cheated on me, with someone from his gym. When I confronted him, he shrugged and said, "It just happened. I didn't think you'd freak out this much." That was it. No big speech, no apology that meant anything. I moved out. Alone, no husband, no boyfriend, just an empty apartment and a lot of echoes. I look at my life now, paying rent by myself, coming home to silence, scrolling through old photos at 2 a.m., and I know I had something good. Not perfect, not a movie, but good. I used to complain that David wasn't romantic enough. Now I miss the way he used to send me a text every night if he was working late. Eat something, I love you, don't wait up. If you're listening to this and you're flirting with the idea of leaving your partner for someone more exciting, ask yourself honestly, are you leaving a toxic situation, or are you just running from your own boredom and responsibility? Because in my case, I didn't follow my heart. I set my life on fire and called it love. And now I live in the ashes of my own choices. Story 4. I cheated on the best boyfriend I ever had. I'm not here to ask for sympathy. I honestly don't deserve it. I just need to say this out loud, even if it's to strangers on the internet. A couple of years ago, I was dating this guy. Let's call him Mark. He wasn't perfect, but he was good, solid, kind, the kind of guy you can actually build a life with. He opened doors for me without making a big show out of it. He remembered my coffee order. He supported my career, celebrated my little wins, and listened when I vented about work. His family welcomed me in like I had always been there. His mom would send me recipes. His dad would ask about my projects. His sister and I would text memes back and forth. I was basically becoming part of the family. And then I ruined it. There was this coworker. We'll call him Jake. Jake was the opposite of Mark in a lot of ways. Charming, cocky, adventurous. He flirted without effort. He made me feel wanted, desired, not in the quiet, steady way Mark did, but in this loud, intoxicating, ego-boosting way. It started with harmless jokes, then inside jokes, then drinks after work. We'd complain about our lives, our relationships, our frustrations. We'd sit a little too close, laugh a little too long, make eye contact a little too intensely. Looking back, I know exactly what I was doing. I was playing with fire and pretending it was an accident. One night after a work event, we ended up back at his place just to talk. You already know how that ended. I cheated. Once. I went home after that and looked at myself in the mirror. I didn't even recognize my own face. The next day I saw Mark. He smiled at me like I was still the best thing that had ever happened to him. And I wanted to confess. I wanted to fall at his feet and tell him everything, but I didn't. I lied by omission. I let him hug me, kiss me, tell me he loved me, all while I was screaming on the inside. For a while, I tried to convince myself it was just one mistake. It didn't mean anything. No point in hurting him over something that won't happen again, but it did mean something. It meant that I betrayed someone who trusted me completely. Eventually, the guilt consumed me. I became distant, anxious. I overcompensated with gifts, affection, fake cheerfulness. He noticed something was off. One day he sat me down and asked, "Is there someone else?" And I broke. I confessed everything. Ugly crying, shaking, begging. He didn't yell. He didn't throw things. He just went quiet. That silence hurt more than any screaming ever could. He asked a few questions in this calm, dead voice. Did you use protection? How long has this been going on? Do any of my friends know? Then he stood up and said, I need you to leave. I tried to apologize. I tried to explain that it was a stupid mistake, that I loved him, that I didn't want to lose him. He just said, you already did. I left his apartment, and that was the last time I saw him in person. He blocked me on everything. His sister blocked me. His mom stopped texting. It was like I'd fallen out of existence. It's been almost 2 years I've dated other people, but every time I end up comparing them to Mark, and not in a he was perfect way. He wasn't. But he was good. He was real. He was safe in the best possible way. And I threw that away for one night of feeling exciting and wanted and desired by a guy who never even saw me as more than an ego boost. I still check his social media sometimes from a burner account. He looks happy, healthier, he's traveling, hanging with friends, living his life without me. I don't want to crash back into his world and dump my guilt on him again. I don't want to ask for forgiveness I don't deserve. I just want to say this to someone. If you're feeling tempted to cheat because you're bored, insecure, or craving attention, don't. Talk to your partner. Go to therapy. End the relationship if you need to. But don't do what I did. Don't take a good person, smash their trust into pieces, and then realize too late that the attention you craved wasn't worth losing the person who actually loved you. I cheated on the best boyfriend I ever had. And my punishment is knowing exactly what I lost and never getting it back. Story 5. I didn't fight for my marriage. And now my ex is happily remarried. I used to think that if a relationship was meant to be, it would just work naturally, without too much effort. I know, naive. I was married to a man I'll call Michael. We were together for almost 8 years. In the beginning, it was great. We had inside jokes, weekend routines, lazy Sundays, all of it. But somewhere along the way, the spark faded, not all at once, more like a slow dimming. We stopped going on dates, stopped surprising each other, stopped really talking about anything deeper than what do you want for dinner, and did you pay the electricity bill? Little resentment started piling up. He worked long hours and came home exhausted. I felt lonely and unappreciated. He felt pressured and misunderstood. We both felt like victims, and neither of us wanted to admit that we were also part of the problem. In my head, I kept thinking, if he really loved me, he'd try harder. If he cared, he'd notice I'm unhappy. I waited for him to change. He probably waited for the same from me. We argued more about chores, money, his family, my friends. The arguments were never about what we were really upset about. It was always surface stuff. We mentioned therapy a couple of times. I said, I don't want to sit in some office and talk about my feelings to a stranger. He said, therapy is expensive. We'll be fine. We were not fine. One night, after a particularly bad fight about something completely trivial, I said the words I'd been holding in my mouth like poison. Maybe we should just get a divorce. He went silent. Then he said, if that's what you want. I wanted him to fight, to say, no, let's try, let's fix this. I love you, you're my wife, we can't just throw this away. But he didn't. He just accepted it. And because he didn't fight, I convinced myself it meant he didn't care enough. So we divorced. It was sad, but strangely calm. No cheating, no dramatic betrayal, just two people quietly giving up. I moved into a small apartment. I told my friends I felt free. I dyed my hair, changed my style, traveled a bit, posted photos of myself smiling, drinking cocktails, living this new chapter. Inside, I felt hollow, but I blamed it on the adjustment period. I told myself it would pass. A couple of years went by. We barely talked, only a few emails about leftover bills and some paperwork. It was awkward but polite. Then one day, a mutual friend posted some photos from a wedding. I almost scrolled past until I saw him, Michael, in a suit, smiling, next to a woman in a wedding dress. My breath literally caught. I opened the post. There they were, happy, glowing, laughing like they'd never known what it was to be tired and bitter and resentful. The caption said, "Couldn't be happier for these two. Congratulations on your beautiful day." I stared at that photo for a long time. My first emotion wasn't anger, it was regret. Because suddenly I wasn't just thinking about how he moved on, I was thinking about all the times we could have chosen differently. We could have chosen to talk honestly instead of sulking. We could have chosen therapy instead of scrolling on our phones. We could have chosen to say, "I'm hurt," instead of, "You never care." We didn't. We chose silence, pride, avoidance, and then we chose divorce. Seeing him happy with someone else broke something in me, but not in the way you might think. I wasn't jealous of her specifically. I was jealous of the version of him that looked so open and warm and present. The version I didn't get, because we never tried to grow into it. Together, I thought about reaching out, typing something like, "Hey, I saw your wedding photos. I'm happy for you." But I knew deep down that message wasn't for him. It would be for me. A way to feel less like the person who let a good thing die because she thought love should be effortless. So I didn't send anything. Instead, I sat with the truth. I didn't just lose a husband. I lost the chance to see what our marriage could have become if we had been willing to fight for it, instead of silently waiting for the other person to go first. If you're listening to this and you're in a relationship that feels dull, heavy, stuck, I'm not saying never leave. Some relationships need to end. Some are unsafe. Some are truly wrong. But if you're with someone who's basically good, someone who loves you but is flawed and tired and human, ask yourself honestly, have you really tried? Or are you quietly giving up and calling it fate? Because I didn't try, not really. And now my ex-husband is happily remarried, and I'm sitting here talking to strangers about the life I might have had if I'd learned that love alone isn't enough. But effort, humility, and honest conversations might have been. If this story made you think about your own relationships, take a second and breathe. If you like hearing real stories like this about love, mistakes, regret, and growth, make sure to subscribe to the channel, hit the like button, and turn on notifications so you don't miss the next one. And if you have your own story about love, betrayal, forgiveness, or regret, and you're ready to share it with the world, send it to the email listed in the video description. Your story might be the next one we tell. Thanks for listening.